Hello. Today I have a video of the Asus ZenBook UX305CA. This Ultrabook came out last year in October 2015, I believe. It has the latest Skylake processor. This is the M3 6Y30. It's pretty much the same thing you would find in the new MacBooks. So, first thing out of the way, just a quick, when you look at it, it is a metal body. I think I appreciate that because if you typically get a Asus laptop, or I guess most laptops in general, they come with a plastic body. And when I saw this, I was a little bit skeptical. Did it have some plastic or some metal? But thankfully, this is all metal, except obviously the rubber feet. But it has a metal bottom, metal top, and it feels really good in general. So I can appreciate that. So what's inside this? You have a 13.3-inch IPS Full HD display. It has the matte display. I don't think there's a glossy one, which I do wish there was. The color is called Obsidian Stone, which is, what does that mean? Basically, it's a dark color, and it does have a purple hue to it. So, people use the color, excuse me, plum, or I don't know, these different names, but basically it's a purplish black. Right now it does look sort of dark gray, but in general it does have this purplish light to it. Yes, like I said, it's an M3 processor. It does have turbo. It goes from 900 megahertz, which is really low, up to 2.2 gigahertz. So it does have some juice in it. It has an 8 gigabyte DDR3 low consumption RAM, and it has 256 gigabytes of SSD, which is a big bonus for this. MacBook Airs. Typically, I bought a 128 gigabyte hard drive, and you know what? I got stuck. I can't upgrade because I don't have enough space. I delete pictures, deleted photos and music, and I still, well, not all of it, but still most of it, and I still can't update. So having the 256 gigabyte is a big bonus, and that's the base. And it does have Bluetooth and wireless AC. Wireless AC is good because if you have a 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi at home, it can take advantage of those speeds. That's if you have fast internet. And it has Windows 10, the 64-bit home edition. And when you look at the body, it is nice. It's metal. It feels premium. And it has pretty much, it's very uniform, and I appreciate that. The bonus for this is you have 2 USB ports. You have the SD card slot. Well, actually, you have 2 USB ports here, and actually you have a third one here too. And this is the USB quick charge as well. Okay, so 2 USB slots here, a SD card slot. You have a headphone jack, micro HDMI, another USB. These are all USB 3.0 ports, by the way, and a charging port. Okay, and one thing right off is this cover, the surface is a fingerprint magnet, and I think if this was silver or gold, if you do get the gold, I guess they call it titanium gold edition, or a white one, you probably wouldn't see the fingerprints as much. And that's general, even if car bodies, if you have a silver car, white car, you're less likely to see dings and dents. If you have a darker color, black, pewter, you will see the surface a little more obviously have some kind of misfigures. So when you open this, it's not as easy as, I'm going to make comparisons to the MacBook Air because that's pretty much what it looks like. And if I can't help but compare those two. But the body is very similar, obviously, to a MacBook Air, except this has 3 USB ports. And when you open this, it's not as easy with one hand. Sometimes having 2 hands doesn't make it any easier either, because you can see that I'm actually touching the top part and still stuck together. So it's good that it doesn't just pop open whenever you want. But when you want to open, you kind of have to put a little force into it, and then it opens like that. And there you have it. That's how it looks like when it's open. And first off, you'll notice that the screen is not glossy. It has the matte, it's called anti-glare, but it's just a matte display. It's good for if you're using the laptop in bright rooms. Like right now, I'm in a bright room, and you can't see clear reflections. And the keyboard is very MacBook-ish, I would say. The power button's right here, just like the MacBook Air. Everything feels nice. Even the keys feel really good. They sound good. They have it shallow, pretty shallow, but I think they're deep enough to type pretty fast. Trackpad is big enough, and I think they're pretty good. So in general, very well made. One thing I did notice is part of the top of the display, well, I guess top part of the body, there are these two little things. Actually, let me show you. Two things, right? One here and one here. These two little things that stick out. And actually, it's to help when the monitor, well, the display is open. It kind of tilts up the keyboard just a tad bit. I don't know if it's good or bad, but it's there. And one thing, it kind of makes it feel like okay-ish, but it does lose a little bit of traction when it's open. So you can keep that in mind. But in general, if you know what a MacBook Air looks like, and you know what it feels like, even the keyboard, this is pretty much the same thing. The Asus ZenBook comes with Windows 10 Home pre-installed. It is the 64-bit edition. One thing out of the way is, when you buy an Ultrabook, my assumption, well, typically I would say you're not expecting to do some hardcore graphic, video editing, or hardcore gaming. It is an Ultrabook, and it's supposed to be portable, lightweight. And to do that, you can't expect to do those things. I mean, those are for hardcore, I mean, those are for desktops that are made to do that, or for, you know, gaming laptops that have fans in them, have, you know, dedicated GPUs, and so forth. So for this kind of an Ultrabook, if you're doing office documents, you're doing web browsing, video, watching, YouTubing, I mean, just typical everyday stuff, I would say it is more than adequate. I did not feel hiccups. I don't notice lag, and having the 256GB SSD I think is a huge bonus. And having 8GB of RAM it should be the standard, I would say. So one quick tip: if you're buying a laptop or an Ultrabook and you see that it has 1TB hard drive, make sure that it's at least not the 5400 RPM. If you get a 5400 RPM, don't buy it, because no matter how good of a laptop that is, it could be the i7, i5 CPU, it can have 8GB RAM. If you have a 1TB hard drive of 5400 RPM, don't get it, because that will bottleneck that computer so much that you won't feel it's worth it. And it won't be worth it, honestly. Or if you do buy that kind of a computer, laptop or desktop with a 1TB 5400 RPM hard drive, expect to change out the hard drive. Use that as storage. Just don't expect that's the computer you're going to use. So with this computer, you get the 256GB SSD. That's something I would even consider should be the standard now for computers and operating systems. If you want that fast, snappy feel, an SSD has, you know, it should be a must. I have a Dell Latitude E5450. It has a 500GB, 7200 RPM hard drive, and I think that's fast enough. I mean, there is obviously load times, but it doesn't bother me as much as obviously having a 5400 RPM hard drive. Okay, so that out of the way. So tip, don't get a laptop with a fast hard drive. If it has good specs, the hard drive should be included in the specs in your consideration. Okay, so this has, like I said, 8GB of RAM, 250GB of SSD. It has a decent CPU, and if you load stuff, I mean, in general, anything just loads pretty well. And Windows 10, I think it's pretty good. I don't have any major complaints with Windows 10. I think things load pretty good. Let's see. And the one gripe I do have, it is a really nice display. I mean, it's a full HD. I really like the IPS. You can see that it has good viewing angles. And it has good colors. I did have to adjust the colors. If you do get this or an Asus laptop, go into the Asus Splendid utility. You'll find it in the All Apps, and it's something I would suggest to make it a little bit colder. I think the colors comes a little bit yellowy, warm, I would say. So obviously make it a little bit cooler. And in general, I would use this laptop for Ultrabook for web browsing, and also if you don't want to spend money for, maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but if you don't want to spend money for Office, it is pretty, pricey, I would say. Get LibreOffice. I'm not endorsing, no one paid me to say this, but I just want to say LibreOffice is free, it's an alternative, and it does just as good. And I have LibreOffice installed here, and it loads just fine like you saw, and I think it's pretty good. The other thing I would like to mention, okay, so I was talking about the display. And it is a full HD IPS display, which is nice, but the glare, anti-glare coating, the matte display, I think is, for me, I prefer to have a glossy display because I think colors come through better. There's no, there's a fuzzy feeling. There's a fuzziness or some kind of, when you look at a bright screen like this, it won't show through the camera, I don't think, but you will notice there is a fuzziness to it and it doesn't feel sharp. My wife said it kind of looks like there's some dust on the screen or something, just doesn't have a clean screen feeling. So keep that in mind. And I think if you're okay and you don't like reflections, I have a coworker who doesn't like to see his face, and he has a dark room, and I guess he somehow can see his face because there's a window behind him, even the shades are closed. And he says, I don't like the glossy display, so he switched out to the matte displays like this, and he's happy with that. So it's personal taste, but I prefer the glossy. If this was a glossy display, I think I'd be obviously a lot happier. Not a lot happier, but at least a little bit happier. Okay, the other thing I would like to point out is the trackpad is actually pretty good. It's not bad, and I think it's decent. And the trackpad has a good size, I would say, but it doesn't feel very responsive sometimes. So for example, let's say I'm going into, let me just do a quick Google search of Asus UX305CA, and I have this whole list up here, and I'm scrolling up and down, and it's pretty responsive. Sometimes it just keeps going. It's not, obviously, Apple, I think, makes the best trackpad. I'm not sure if it's their software or the hardware, but they do a really good job. But for Windows computers, it doesn't get that good. So here, at least, it's pretty responsive. Let me go to one of the websites I visit frequently, and it's loading up. If this was my MacBook Air, things would, even from here, I could scroll up and down and smooth. But you can notice, I don't know if you can see it on the screen, but there's this judder. And I don't like judder, and especially this day and age, I would expect that things would be a lot smoother. Even if pages are loading. This is all loaded up, but there's a judder. I don't think it's because of the M3 processor. I don't know what it is, but there's this lag, and I wish they could improve that. So the trackpad for, I guess, Windows PCs need to be improved. And other than that, I'm pretty happy with this. I think for your daily usage computer, this is more than adequate, and I don't really have too many gripes about it, and I think it's a pretty good thing. And you know what, the price that this retails for $699, you can buy this for even as low as $650, and that is, either way, it's really worth it. You get a great value, and it's really feels premium, feels good. Displays an IPS display, and I think that always has great color reproductions. Don't obviously expect to play hardcore games. You probably could play Minecraft or anything light, probably Portal. But don't expect to play anything hardcore. This is using it doesn't have a dedicated GPU, so obviously you're not going to have good gaming into it. And I would say for your daily driver, this is a great value for $699. You can't really complain. If it had a glossy display, a more responsive trackpad, and that price, gosh, I think this would be amazing. And compared to high-end Ultrabooks, compared to obviously the MacBook Air or the new MacBook, I mean, which has the same basic specs, this is a great buy. There's no complaint about it, obviously, in that sense. So, just want to do a quick overview video about the item, things that I were looking for, things that I think people tend to look for. So, things to quickly point out: it's a full HD IPS display. One thing I would like to mention is that this is scaled at 125%. If you do 100%, some people might feel that's too small for all the icons on the screen to be displayed. Some people will probably prefer 150%, but the thing is, not every app is accustomed to that, so it will be a little bit blurry. I don't know why that is, but there's a little blurriness to it. So, great display. The only negative for me would be the matte display. The anti-glare coating. Keyboard feels good. Trackpad is a good size. Just wish it was a little more responsive. You have 3 USB 3.0 ports with a quick charge on the right side. You have an SD card slot on the left side, and you have a headphone jack power on the right side. And it has pretty much all the ports you need. I mean, compared to obviously other things, like for example, the MacBook only has one USB Type-C port, or other Ultrabooks, this has enough ports, I think, in general. And it has micro HDMI, which you probably need a dongle, but I wish they didn't have to do that. But I guess to fit an HDMI into this, they had to put a micro HDMI port. But all in all, great laptop. I think the CPU is good enough. And if you need more juice, more power for whatever you do, if you're a graphic artist or a video editing person, get the i5 version. There's for $100 more, you can buy $150 more or $100 more, whatnot. You can get the i5 version of this. It has the i5 6200U CPU, I believe. Go for that. I mean, you're paying a little bit more, but you're getting what you need. But for most people, I would say this is more than adequate, and you can't go wrong. So thank you for watching this video, and if you have any comments, questions, let me know. Thank you. Bye.